National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, presents a Bravo video event, the Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice. And on today's show, Index Annuities with industry index product expert, Sheryl Moore. And now the host of the Business Insurance Zone, the whiz of the biz, insurance columnist Steve Savant. Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I am your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial professionals right out of Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And with me today, a very testy Sheryl Moore, because she's been here 4 straight days. This is day 5, and we're talking about indexed annuities. And if you haven't caught our show, you have so missed it. And I don't know how much I can redux today. It depends on how many topics we get through. But I want you to go back out to our site, www.brokersalliance.com. And as soon as you come to our homepage, you'll see a big red button, On Demand Video. Click it. And I suggest to you that instead of watching this show first, which I would not do, I would watch it in sequence, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and get a little building block area. This show has been hugely educational. There are things that you have not seen or understood about indexing. This is great. And again, I threatened to do a workshop with Sheryl. I'm going to probably have to do this. This is just too hot of a subject, and I really want to do it. Now, Sheryl, welcome back to our show. Welcome to day 5.
Thank you.
And what did I say? Why did I say that Sheryl's testy? Because as the week disintegrated, as we get to the day 5, Sheryl is in her little void. We're going to have to see if we can just kind of get her animated today because we're amped up on a lot of issues. And let's go to the first one here. I want to knock out a little bit about qualified plan. Now, before we get into usually when I talk about qualified plans, we're putting an annuity that's tax deferred into an already tax deferred vehicle. Yeah. All right. Let's just pretend I don't care about that anymore, because back in the day when the rate was so high, nobody even talked about that. It was irrelevant. So if the benefit and the rate of return, and I need a deduction today, right? I may want to look at this.
Oh, absolutely. And so many people speculate on this product and go, why would you put an annuity in a qualified plan? It's already getting favorable tax treatment. Right. Well, you know why I did? I rolled my 401k into an indexed annuity after I found out, oh, by the way, you can lose money in a 401k. Mm-hmm. I rolled mine into an indexed annuity, and it's an IRA. The reason I did it is because I'm worried about outliving my money. Oh, great statistic for you, Steve. Huh? Guess what the number one mortal fear of Americans was last year?
Public speaking.
How'd you know?
Because I always get that line shot back to me in an email. Steve, I can't believe how you can public speak about all this stuff and keep it in your head. Oh. You're a very sick man.
And me, I'm just like, are you kidding? I love public speaking.
Right.
Guess what the number one mortal fear of Americans is this year?
You mean it's been supplanted?
It has.
Oh my gosh, no, I don't know.
Outliving one's retirement.
That's number 1?
That is number 1, which is a huge reason to be talking about annuities.
Outliving your retirement.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I put my qualified plan in an index annuity.
You're going to be able to give me this, because I'm going to get hit on this like crazy. I hope you know where I can
what
get
the source
this.
of.
Yeah.
Oh, you can probably go out to the Gallup poll, for goodness sakes.
Oh, okay.
Just Google it. You Googler.
I am a Googleite. Yes. All right. Well, listen. If public speaking is taking a back seat to outliving your retirement, that phobia, that's a huge phobia.
That's huge.
And I'm thinking about, I want to play, it's not so much phobia, but I don't want people, listen, when Sheryl said about 4 shows back that somebody said in Time Magazine, the person's going to live to 150, he's already been born, right?
Yep.
I mean, think about that number, 150, that person's been born already, and I'm looking at outliving my retirement. Oh my gosh.
Well, if you've retired, I mean, you're going to live twice the amount of time that you lived before.
Well, I hope these insurance companies, their little actuaries just heard this, because I think they're going to be freaking out.
Longevity issues, yes.
As soon as I generate my income from my index annuity, which I have in part of my qualified plan, I might add, ding ding, I'm going to put this on joint with my wife and really let him pay through the nose, because that woman's going to live forever.
Well, and I have a grandfather who rolled the death benefit from my grandmother's passing into an immediate annuity. And they guessed that he was going to die 15 years before he did. So, I mean, it's absolutely possible to have a huge benefit from these products.
It is. So really on qualified plan, I'm not going to be, and believe you me, if we had our expert, Ken Davis, CLU, CHFC, CFP, and CPA on this show, you wouldn't get any grief from him either, because he said sometimes the benefits have nothing to do with the dual tax advantages that we talk about qualified plan with an annuity. The benefit has to carry the day. And by the way, in some of these, as we've talked about all this week, they do carry the day.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's interesting to look at. And I like underpinning guarantees. I like contractual imperatives that at least I can sit there and go, well, at least I got this. I know on my one section of my portfolio that is in this because I wanted one part. And if you're like me, baby boomer, you probably are sitting there going, I got to have something for sure. I know what the number's going to be. I know what the income's going to be. I already have it locked down. Now, it could be more, but it's not going to be less. I have other investments. I'm in some security. I got still risk in there involved in some of the other things. But hey, there's a part of my portfolio. And when I look about this and you say outliving your retirement, wow, if that's the number one fear, then that should be our close. You should be closing every single case. You do not want to outlive this. The income streams that are tied to index annuities are so huge that this is going to, I don't know if it mitigates totally, outliving your retirement, but this money's going to be there as long as of course that brings up to another point, as long as the carrier is going to be there. Because I've, from state to state, and I'm going to say this, take a little risk here. I don't want you to answer this because my E&O is probably higher than yours. But I just want to remember, a lot of the companies, if we have problems with carriers not being able to belly up to the bar for whatever reason, and remember, I'm not using any other statements but than what I just said, one of the first places they don't guarantee is usually in a bad boy situation. I don't mean so much bankruptcy or conservatorship or anything like that, but that one area for sure is benefits. I mean, those income benefits are pretty much off the table.
Absolutely,
So I just don't ever say anything about any funds that do this or that. As a licensed agent, you got to be heads up. That's a bad boy issue. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a hot topic, really, Steve, because we do have more B-rated carriers selling indexed annuities and fixed annuities than we ever have before. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the benefit base of an income rider is not guaranteed by the Guaranteed Fund Association.
Right. Now, she said that. I didn't.
I did.
Okay. Now, and the reason we're doing heads up, remember, we don't want to use that ever in a sales issue. It's verboten, and I don't want to even press that. But I do want to give you a heads up that these are some of the things that we want to talk about, and that's why we have our show, because we want to be able to address things that everybody's living on. I mean, these are the issues and subjects and topics that we need to talk about because everybody's asking. And this is all out on the internet again as well. All right, let's just say I buy your number one. I love that. I just want to Google that and find out, wow, outliving my retirement. Okay, let's just say that fear is true. And
it is true. I said it.
I know. Well, right there, third-party authority right there. But my real thing is I'm looking at numbers, right? Especially off these indexes. We're talking a long time. So, I mean, it's like the insurance companies haven't priced this out.
Well, no, they have. I mean, when you look at like an income annuity like a SPIA, particularly when you have so many different options, you could do a life only where, if you die on the second day, the insurance company gets to keep all the money. Or you could do life in period certain 30 years. What you tend to have happen is some of the people are subsidizing the other people's benefits.
Well, let's just go down that road. I like that little line of thinking. Married couples in the car, they trigger their income, they live it, but they got a ton of their lifestyle up, but they got killed in a crash. Well, is there any benefits to income, or once the joint's over, it's over?
On an indexed annuity with an income rider? Absolutely. We pay full account value on death.
Let's talk about that. Ding, ding, ding. I just thought that's just the thing we don't address very often. So if in my scenario, it's worst scenario, I've had the index, I turned on the income, I've been generating income, and the married couple, God forbid, but they have a crash and they both die.
Yeah.
Who gets the balance that they did not get?
They don't necessarily get the benefit base. There are a few companies that will offer that, but the remaining account value would go to their beneficiaries.
Subtract what I took out on income versus that income.
So I had $100,000. We took $20,000 out in income. They passed away. $80,000 going to go to their beneficiaries.
Unlike annuitization.
Right.
That's a heads up, because I think that is a great issue. If mom and dad don't use it, then hey, there might be some stuff here left for the next generation.
Well, and it's a huge issue when you consider that there is a tremendous amount of money that goes into annuities that is never turned into income, and it actually ends up going to the kids.
And
tax consequences?
Tax consequences. Yeah, I mean, there are issues here, I mean, that are just, and we'll leave that to the show with Ken Davis to talk about that, our little compadre of CPA Society. You know, I just want to really make sure, though, that we see the benefits because they are so huge. And again, I'm not looking for, this isn't the answer to all things.
No.
It's part of your portfolio. If your mind has a propensity like mine is right now, principal preservation is a big deal. If you're a boomer, if you're a Googleite like I am, that's a concern. And I want to make sure that I know what I'm at least got part of my portfolio in. Now, that being said, there are so many, we talked about so many income riders. Some of them cost, some of them are pretty reasonable. Some don't cost at all, but their benefits aren't that great either. So I want to be able to go, I'm wondering, when I go out to your site, does it actually break this out when I go to annuityspecs.com?
Yeah.
Does this break this stuff out?
We tell you about the contractual provisions of every income rider in the fixed and indexed annuity market. So we not only tell you what is the current charge, but hey, if I have received that 7.2% roll up for 10 years and now I say, you know what, I thought I was going to be ready to retire now, but I'm not. Can I continue to get that 7.2%? Yeah, you can, but guess what? Where your charge for your rider was 50 basis points before, now it might be 100. It might be 45, but it's subject to change. So Annuity Specs tells you not only what is the current charge, but what is the maximum that it could go up to.
Let's just go down that road. I mean, I'm thinking like, hey, are my charges for my income, if my income's guaranteed, my charges may not be?
No, they are guaranteed. But
Okay.
if you say have a product that has a 7.2% roll up for
you're talking
10
about,
years.
I'm done with my 10 years.
You're done with your 10
Gotcha.
years,
Oh, okay.
but then they say, hey, we will let you go another 10 years, so you could get a full 20 years, but if you decide to go past the original 10, your charge
They
may
may
be
have
subject
changed
to
their
change.
charges. Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good heads up because I mean, remember, there are people that are going to be a little bit younger. Hey, I really don't need it right now. I think I'm going to let it ride.
And, you know, right now I'm only anticipating living to age 88. But let's say I get to 88 and I'm healthier than I thought I was going to be. I may want to continue
Cheryl,
getting
you're the
there.
next generation. Why wouldn't you be sitting there at 98 to 108?
I'm table D.
Table D.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
another discussion. But
Okay, in the insurance zone, I'll be having my weekend show called Mind Your Own Business, and maybe I should. Maybe I should. Table D. D as in diva of indexed.
You got it.
Okay, I'll talk to you about that. I could probably shave that easily. I know an underwriter that we just had in here 2 weeks ago. She is my best friend. Right? Okay, all right.
We'll talk, Steve.
We'll talk about that. I do want to talk about that. It wounds me that you're on my show with a table D. Bringing up substandard, just in case somebody's doing it. There are a few annuity carriers left in the United States, I don't know if they're indexed, that actually have medically underwritten
Annuities. No index annuities
yet.
like that.
Okay, carriers, you're always looking for a specific issue to add to your plate. How about medically underwritten annuities to make that income stream really sweet?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just invented something. Remember, Sheryl and I did this live on the show, so we need a little royalty. I'm not talking a little bit. I'm just talking maybe a quarter of a basis point because we came up with that. Don't you like that?
Yeah.
In the next
That'd be
subject, we're going to tie it all together for this week. We'll do a redux and touch on anything she wants to touch on. You're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, the talk show that talks about insurance in your practice. You can email thebiz@brokersalliance.com or just call me toll free 1-800-290-7226 extension 147. Cheryl and I will be right back after a word from one of our premier product providers right after the break.
Life doesn't always fit into 5-year increments. That's the standard for most term insurance policies. AG Selected Term offers you a powerful new way to help your clients customize their life insurance plans to anticipate known future events such as retirement, paying off their mortgages, or funding their children's college education. Buy only the term you need and no more. That's AG Selected Term from American General Life Company and the United States Life Company in the City of New York. Policies not available in all states.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated insurance columnist, I must say, and financial color commentator and interviewer extraordinaire. Before moving forward with anything on the show, always check in with your CPA, your tax attorney, or if you're FINRA licensed, your broker-dealer compliance department.
Remember, you can call us for any quotes or questions you may have on life insurance, annuities, LTC, DI, and group pension plans. 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. Hey, it's not what I know, it's who I know, and that's why I only have the best on the show, and Sheryl Moore is the best on index annuities and index life, although this week it's only index annuities. And I have to say, Sheryl, 5 shows with you, right, is like an education. She's got a piece out on Producers Web. Dan, I hope you're watching. Producers Web to die for, getting your PhD in
index interest crediting.
Yeah, index crediting. And listen, I even commented on it. I read the article. I always learn, whether it's on this show, any of Sheryl's articles on her sites, and of course, her patented annuityspecs.com. And if you're a life guy like I am, LifeSpecs.com. I live on those when I'm doing indexing. And Sheryl, thank you so much for actually putting that together, because you saw a need, and anybody that's playing in this league has your product. Shameless plug. What can I say?
Well, I appreciate that. But you know, Steve, it wasn't some revolutionary idea. When I was doing product management for a home office, I really had trouble finding product information. It was very difficult, and we didn't have the vendors offering services like mine today. My source was FMO's websites like Brokers Alliance. I'd go out and see what the product information was, and what do I do if this guy's website has different product information than this guy's on the same product? Is one guy wrong, or does one guy know about a change the other guy doesn't? So I thought, well, you know what? I've been doing competitive intelligence for a very long time. Let me just work with the companies that I work with today and make sure that I understand their contractual provisions and put them out in this one resource where everybody can use it and be assured of the accuracy and timeliness of the information.
Well, when I think about all the information that's out there, and let me tell you something, you have to be an aficionado to be up your game, and I just can't imagine spending that kind of quality time. What she's done on her website is really distilled down the policy provisions and spec'd it out on a nice spreadsheet.
Well, I read specimen contracts for fun, Steve, but let's face it, your agents don't have time to do that.
No, and nor do they want to do that. In fact, we were talking to Ken the other day, Ken Davis. We said, this guy reads tax facts for his recreational toilet reading. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
And we're talking about Sheryl Moore here, who reads specimen policies cover to cover.
Oh, I do.
I mean,
I love it.
There are people that are sick, and Sheryl, you are.
I'm among them. I'm the queen of the sick.
You have a huge due diligence disease, I have to say. Well, listen, and we love your disease, because now we're hip to that too as well, and I really appreciate that. I want to be able to go back also. You know, we were talking a little bit of a redux. We talked through the week about domestic and foreign indexing. We talked about caps, par rates, spread rates. We talked about point-to-point, 5, annual, month-to-month, daily. I mean, we have carriers that are going on, hey, we're daily sweeping. Well, I don't know if that makes that big of a difference. The longer you hold the position, the more these things don't really matter from one little topic to another. However, this is my Friday question. If I was to try to say, homogenize my best point-to-point scenario, my best cap spread or par scenario, my best income scenario, and without saying the carrier on the air, is there people that rise to the top when you say all in, when you spec out across the board, and throw a little history in there too? They've really done good.
Well, that's a good question, Steve. And essentially what you're asking is, Sheryl, what's the best indexed annuity?
Well, I'm not going to let you say that on the air unless they pay us to do it. But
well, that is the number one question I get. But my response to you and to everybody else who asked that is, well, that depends. What is your meaning of best? Because what's best for me, Steve, is not best for you.
Well, let's go back to because you mentioned this earlier. Let's say your hold position of 5 years or 4. You had a short annuity you were talking about.
4 year.
That you own.
I just bought one.
And an index annuity, short term. So if I said short term, does a company come to your mind? Well, it has to. You bought it.
Yeah.
You could have bought anybody.
Yeah, I'm not going to name the company.
No, I don't want you to do that yet. I'll off air though. I'm going to ask you. And if you want to know Sheryl's secrets, just come to my new show called Mind Your Own Business, where she tells me to go take my questions and take a blind leap. Right. And it is leap year, so carry on.
There we go.
So, but if I said 4 years, you have something in your mind. But if I said 10 years out, I'm a holder, I'm not going to have to worry about this, qualified or not qualified, do carriers, do they rise to the top? Do you get a couple?
No, just because, okay, Steve, is the renewal rate history of the company important to you?
I think it is important to some of our consumers, and
advisors, let me say it this way, advisors coming in from the securities who are now willing to dip their toe into this area of indexing, they want to see some historicity. They can go out to Morningstar all day long. I can pull down numbers. I know exactly what's going on. I'd like to see a little bit more carrier participation in the issues of history.
I would too, and one of the ways that we're combating that is we're adding enhancements to Annuity Specs where you will be able to download the renewal rate history for the companies that publish it.
Now the positive is great. I can't wait to see it on your software. But honestly, there's only about 10 carriers out of 10 products, I should say, or 10 carriers
companies
out of the 246 index annuities contracts that are out there. And that's kind of that kind of makes me feel a little bit disheartened.
But the thing about competition, and this is why I love what I do, Steve, is it has the ability to impact change. Okay, maybe only 10 companies are publishing their renewal rates today, but if I push it out to annuityspecs.com and all the companies are using Annuity Specs for their product development, almost all the distributors are using Annuity Specs for their product management solution on their website for their downline, and individual agents are subscribing to Annuity Specs, and they see the company that they're doing business with is not publishing their renewal rate history on the website.
Why is that?
What kind of effect do you think that's going to have?
Not good from a marketing point of view.
Might change product development.
And remember, PR, once advisors start talking about the history of these rates and the caps and the changes from year to year, I'm telling you the public's going to pick up on this if we're not already picking up on it already.
Well, I think that it's a question that most agents don't even know to ask, to be honest, Steve. And I have done business with a couple of different companies that have actually increased my renewal rates once I've purchased the policy in years 2+.
An anomaly.
It is an anomaly. But it's a question that people don't know to ask because traditionally we distributed through a captive or career distribution and you didn't have to worry about the non-guaranteed elements changing that often.
Now, can I see if the companies that did actually show their history on your software, are there a couple in there that showed increases?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have every index annuity company on Annuity Specs.
Hey, listen, if you say, Steve, I want to know that list. If it's on there, can I give it to them?
It's not on the list, but it's right up here, and anybody who asks me for it can get it.
Well, I'm just going to say you're going to have to come through Brokers Alliance to get that because I'm going to gatekeep that issue. I'm gatekeeping that issue all day long. All right, now, Sheryl, when I'm looking at it, I know after I've looked at all the annuity specs in there, and there are some really good carriers that I really like. And I hate to bring up the due diligence issue, but I'm sorry, but sometimes quality of ratings, AM Best, S&P, Moody's, Fitch, Comdex rating. This matters to me, and it matters to a lot of my producers.
Yeah, shameless plug for EBIX, but I rely on vital signs religiously when it comes to looking at the company's ratings and their financials.
Well, I hope Neil's watching because, Neil, I'm looking for that little check in the mail right now.
Neil, give me a call.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that that's very, very important, especially when you're talking about a product where the guarantees are only as good as the claims paying ability of the insurer.
That's my point, yeah.
Yeah. And we do have more B-rated carriers selling annuities than ever before. A big reason for that, though, is that when the market collapsed in 2008, and, you know, we had the credit default swap issue, we had a lot of insurance companies that were exposed, and a lot of insurance companies have their assets in real estate, which is another sore topic since the economy collapsed. So I will say that the insurance industry in general took a hit when the economy collapsed, and that has affected the ratings of a lot of companies. Am I going to give them more of a pass now than I would 10 years ago? Absolutely, in light of those things. But as a consumer purchasing annuities, that's something I'm definitely going to scrutinize when I'm making my purchase decision.
And I think you need to look at it, and again, we have all the carriers, their due diligence, all the rating services, and what I like, the 4-page profile of every carrier. And the reason I like that is sometimes I'll take a B+ rated carrier, look at their strictly balance sheet, forget the ratings for a second, and see, do I have like net AVR would be a perfect example, asset valuation reserve. I'd be looking at that right away. I'd be looking at their bond portfolio. I'd be trying to see if I can measure, are they in the game, even though their ratings, because they might have had to put more in their reserves and maybe cost their rating some. I don't know.
Interesting you bring that up because I recently had it brought to my attention that there is a company in the annuity market, specifically the indexed annuity market, and they have one of the most aggressive living benefits available on the market today. But when I pulled them up on Vital Signs, it looks like a majority of their investments are in a Jimmy Buffett fund.
You're kidding me, right?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Wow, I wonder if that's the one I just saw the other day too. It had a Comdex rating of 40, and I'm like, Okay. Actually, that may not be good for me then.
You really need to do your due diligence when you're looking
and
at
we'll
the
do this
company.
for you. If you're a producer out there, or even if you're a client, you say, Steve, I'm just watching your show on the internet. Can you send me anything on these ratings? Be happy to do so. We do it all the time. We try to support it, but we always attach a producer to it so that you have any questions. We have our top people looking at this. We want to make sure you have people that we vetted. Big issue with Sheryl and I. We just don't let anybody out there. We want people to sell the things that we think are really good.
Well, and as a consumer, you really can't buy an annuity directly. You need to work with somebody who's a trusted advisor.
Really, and the reason we encourage you is, if you I don't even have a trusted advisor, I don't know where to go. Well, if you'll write me at thebiz@brokersalliance.com or hit our website, www.brokersalliance.com, any of those, I'm happy to send you. You tell me your zip code, and I'll send you people that we think are on our recommend list. And we even have people that may not, fit your profile. We'll find somebody, and if they don't work with us, we just want to make sure that you get somebody that's good. And I have 2 or 3 guys that I've already recommended. They're great registered investment advisors. We recommended them even though they had not done any insurance products with us, because they had a reputation in their community as being high quality and high moral standards. And I believe in that even more before we get an override.
That's
Sheryl,
fabulous.
you should be impressed with that.
I am.
Wow. Thank you, Sheryl, all this week. What a great show. Thank you so much. You can watch Sheryl and I in HD 1080p, I must say, at www.brokersalliance.com. As soon as you come out to our website, you'll see that big red button, On Demand. Watch all 5 of these shows. Remember, just 30 days ago, she had her whole LifeSpecs series on there as well. And remember, you can watch us on all our social networks. I'm Steve Savant. This is the Business Insurance Zone. That's the buzz on the biz for today. Get in the zone. The Business Insurance Zone.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services, to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. Need insurance guidance? Call Brokers Alliance. Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.